So last week for the 4th of July, I put up just a for fun, let's blow some watermelons up kind of shooting video with Lex and his uncle. They are both from the Netherlands. This week, we get to sit down and have a quick 30-minute conversation with them about some of the differences between the United States and the Netherlands. Lex is here in the United States studying to be a nurse. So we talk about some of the differences in healthcare as well as some of the differences in how the patient care relationship with the doctor works. We also talk about gun violence and some of the street level violence that you see in the Netherlands versus the United States. And we close the conversation out talking about what it feels like to be a neighbor next to the Ukraine-Russia conflict and what it looks like looking into the US from outside. Guys, if you like the content and you want to support the channel, hop on over to bonfire.com/store/shop-mad-minute. The swag shop is finally up, guys. None of the t-shirts mean anything. I just think that they're cool. So if you like the content, if you like what I'm producing, consider picking up a t-shirt and helping support. As far as sponsors for the channel, big shout out to ZevTech for always keeping me up to date with some of the coolest guns. Guys, ZevTech does an amazing job blending that duty level performance that you need on demand with some of that competition level style and grace, and get 10% off all of their products with code MADMINUTE. Check out Callaway Ballistics and get 5% off as well as free shipping on orders over $200. Guys, Callaway Ballistics sponsors all of the ammo that I shoot here on the channel. And after years of shooting just the cheapest crap I could find, it is so nice to find a company with a moderate price point that isn't just crap ammo. I have had zero failures to feed, failures to fire. I've had no problems with it at all. And I'm on something like my 4,000 round mark through Callaway Ballistic stuff, through a bunch of different types of ammo. So definitely give them a check out. And a big shout out to Infinity Targets. Guys, get 15% off with Infinity Targets with code TAC15. Infinity Targets are those rubber targets that I shoot in all of my content. Guys, you don't have to take them inside or clean up at the end of the range day. You can fill them full of holes and shoot them with absolutely anything. You just spray paint them over when you're done, leave them out there and just keep blowing them up. They're rated for around 3,000 rounds per square inch, but the only thing I've seen really take a dent out of them is like shotgun shells or 12 gauge, like point blank. But I mean, what is gonna survive that, right? So 15% off with code TAC15 with Infinity Targets. Last but not least, Diligent Defense Co. has hooked me up with a bunch of their suppressors. If you haven't seen my review of their suppressors, check that out on my page. Diligent Defense Co. cans are the best bang for your money on the market, bar none. I am completely in love with their cans. Get 15% off all of their swag on their website with code MADMINUTE. Guys, thanks for checking out the channel. Thanks for watching the content, and no more hesitation. Here's the conversation.
I always start the videos, I just like start having a conversation, and then I just edit into that conversation somewhere. Yeah. So the selective service thing's pretty interesting to me. Like, so we have a selective service and you get your card, but there isn't a legal draft. Yeah. So the only way for that to work would be Congress would have to come along at some point and say we're going to institute a draft, and then that card goes into action. Yeah. I think one of the issues with America with like a draft situation is like the military industrial complex has so much influence into our like global political decisions that a draft just seems insane to me. Yeah. Like if you trace back from World War II to now, there isn't a conflict that we've been involved in that's really justifiable. Yeah. You know? That's and true. Like under Obama, I want to say in 2008, but I could be wrong on the date, but the Obama administration declassified documents around the start of Vietnam and the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Yeah. We now know that the CIA staged the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was our justification to go into Vietnam. Yeah. So, you know, you can't bring into question like 9/11 and everything then all of a sudden like out of the jump. Yeah. But it definitely muddies those waters on other justifications that we've had for things. If we know that our intelligence agencies are dragging us to war, that's super scary. Yeah. And add to that the idea that politicians could receive money from the military-industrial like companies to then get them to vote for a war, to then get them to vote for a draft. Like that is, I feel like the human dynamic of war has been influenced by capitalism in a strange way there.
For sure. Money rules, yes, for sure.
Yeah. So how does that kind of stuff work in the Netherlands? Do you have a mandatory service?
I'm not sure what it is actually. So, but what we have is that, I mean, if you want to go to the army, you can just apply for it, and then what they will do is that, I think it's
a professional. We only got a professional army now.
Yeah, we only have a professional army. So I think that the whole study or the whole length of the time that you can, train for, as in with the army, that you can become a soldier or wherever you want to go to, is around the 2.5 years or something, or 3 years, or
3 or 4 years, and then you can apply for another
profession
in the army also.
In the army, yeah.
So most guys stay 8 to 10 years in the army.
Okay.
Yeah. And then leave and do something else. Yeah. So my cousin, his nephew, he is in the army.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
No,
he just went out. He just stopped.
He just stopped. This
yeah.
year, yes.
But So and he was in the. He wasn't in the Navy, right? He was on the land.
Yes, he was in the. How do you call it? Ground forces.
Ground forces.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does the military pay fairly well?
Yeah. So the military pays everything. They pay your salary while you're studying. They pay your hospital bills. They pay everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's not bad at all. Honestly, no, it's not bad at all. So you don't have any costs of becoming.
So to me, like when you look at the U.S. military, that's always seemed like a recruiting strategy for the U.S. military to me. Is like if you join, we'll pay for you to go to college.
Yeah.
If you join, you get health insurance. Like you get a guaranteed 30 days off a year. Like as a young kid, there really isn't another job out there that's going to give you those amount of benefits. Yeah. And it very specifically targets people that are coming from like low income areas. Yeah. Which is always really interesting to me. Like no matter what post you're at in the military, the bulk of the people that are in the army are like lower income, like very southern kind of. There's a specific type of person.
It's very convenient, of course, to have everything paid for, since studying in the US is so extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So I was talking about it with some other nurses, but I heard prices of around $25,000 per year.
Oh yeah, and up.
And in the Netherlands, and up. Yeah. So that's just nursing, and in the Netherlands it's around a little over 2,000 a year.
So is that subsidized through? Does the government help pay for schooling? Like, is the colleges? Because in the United States, your college system is its own economy. Like, it's its own business.
It can give you. So I'm not sure if it's subsidized by universities. I do know that if you're able to pay it for yourself, it can even still give you tax. Help, as in you get more tax back every year. So we have a certain moment in May that we get tax back from our salaries and whatever we pay in the supermarkets too. And then if you also can show that you've been paying your own university study costs,
you get money back from that.
You get more money back. Yeah, yeah.
How much do you guys like? What is a typical tax return? Is it
it's
like
hard to say.
bucks,
so
or is it...
so it's hard to say. So they say if it's under $50, you're not getting anything back.
Yeah.
But it can also be that you need to pay. So what happens is that we pay a lot of tax over our salaries, like a lot of tax. We have different scales, but the highest scale we pay up to 52% tax.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I guess that's not. I think the U.S.'s highest is like 46.
Yeah.
So
it's yeah. So well, as a student, I am able to say, from one of the jobs that I have, I'm not going to pay tax over it. The country just that's fine. That's what you can do. But if I have two jobs, I'm going to pay tax over one of them. But that tax I pay over another job that I have, I'm going to get that money back then every year in one moment. So it's like a savings account almost.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
The U.S. has a weird structure that I make fun of all the time, where it's like, you have to play a guessing game at the first of the year when you file your taxes. Yeah. You have to try to guess like how much you owe, and they know the answer. So if you guess wrong, they'll come put you in prison. Yeah. And they know how much I'm supposed to pay, but they won't let me in on the game. Yeah. Like,
so it's a bit the same in the Netherlands too, because you have to fill out a certain form with, but it's also asking you. So have you been making any cash money? It's literally on the form, and the government can never know that. But the people that say yes and fill out the exact form that they got cash throughout the year, you also got to pay cash, like tax over that, because it's
that's
not
a very southern, like a very southern kind of redneck thing. If you look at different kind of job categories in the United States, typically people that are like northern or like live in cities, it's very hard for them to hide their money from the government because they're just getting direct deposit into their account. But like southern people typically will be like farmers, or they work on cars, they're plumbers, carpenters, where it's very easy to have a cash heavy business. And it's always really funny to me because the common perception of America is that to be like a businessman or work for a magazine or to live in a big city, that's the dream. But all of those people have insane costs of living, right? Like to buy a house or an apartment in those cities is insane. And then everyone that lives in the country, we're all hiding our money from the government, you know? Like we're all doing everything we can to not pay taxes,
Dig a little in your backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
When my granddad he got ill in Tennessee and we had to move him to Virginia kind of for the end of his life. He didn't trust anyone else in the family but me, and he took me around the house and we dug jars out of the backyard. He took pipes out from underneath sinks that were fake pipes and pulled money and like verifiable government bonds out of them. Like everything in the house was full of stuff. So the big question that I wanted to ask you guys, these talking portions don't have to be super long, but each guest that I bring on kind of has a very distinctive perspective on stuff. So what I was really interested in is, what does the United States look like from people that are outside of it? And I think that you have a really interesting experience because you're coming and going a lot. I feel like the interesting thing with coming and going, like when I was in the military, I would be away for a year and a half, and then I would come home and see like friends and family. And it seemed like, the more that my life progressed, everyone at home was kind of on pause. Like it was a different environment each time I came, but also the same thing. I feel like traveling in and out of the United States is not that. Every 6 months, our conversation as a public is so drastically different. Like say you visited the United States before COVID and then you came back after COVID. When you turn on the nightly news, the conversation, like if you hadn't seen anything about America for a year, that conversation got wild really fast, So I'll stop being long-winded, but so the
United States for me is just it's also what my uncle said when he got here for the first time. One of the first things he said, it's just so big here. And not that the houses are big, the space you guys have, everything is extremely big because we come from this little cute country. Virginia is 3 times the size of the Netherlands.
Oh, the state of Virginia is?
Yeah.
Man, I didn't know that at all. Yeah, I thought Netherlands was much bigger than that.
No. We're just put in a little corner. And it's and what my uncle says, there's so much space here, and it's just so you get some rest here. I feel like the Netherlands were just constantly on and busy and stressful, and with planes coming over and loud and neighbors that we hear, because townhouses are normal houses in the Netherlands.
I hate townhouses.
Yeah,
we all live in townhouses.
We all live in townhouses.
Really?
Yeah.
Almost all. Only very wealthy. They have a big house
with some space in it. Yeah.
But you can still touch the neighbor's house from your window, right?
When I knock on the wall, I hit the neighbors. They are connected to each other, all the houses.
Yeah. So something that bothers me from the American perspective, having been in the military and getting to see other parts of the world, when I look at America, I'm kind of disgusted by the fact that we don't appreciate how wealthy we are. I'm considered a middle class, like I'm kind of struggling right now to make the dream of making some of the content and stuff work. Like my money is very tight. That being said, I have a 2,000 square foot house. You can't see any of my neighbors, and I'm on 22 acres worth of property. And I'm complaining about being on the bottom end of middle class, right? Like I've worked very hard to have what I have. There's definitely people that have it much worse than me. But even people that are in bad situations in the United States, those bad situations are townhouses and apartments, right? Like we look at people that have an apartment like they're poor, you know? It's really interesting to me.
And there's still townhouses that you can pay well over 400,000 euros for.
Oh man,
And-
that's like close to $600,000.
No. So
now.
I think there's like 90 cents is one 90 euro cents is like
It's
one.
almost the same now.
Is $1.
Oh, that's not. That's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
When
So-
I was in Germany, it was like $1.40 would get you a euro, something like that.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
I thought the dollar was falling off. Maybe it's
No,
not as
it
bad as
actually
I think it is.
during COVID the dollar was worth more at some point than the euro.
No shit.
Yeah. Seriously.
How did that happen?
That was a very big issue for Europeans. Our pride was touched there. It was,
Yeah.
But now we're back again, so now the euro is worth more again. But
Man, that's super interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I lived in Germany, it was always difficult. I would try to go get like tennis shoes or just go out shopping.
Yeah.
And I would be like trying to do math, looking at stuff on how much is this actually going to cost me.
But you guys are very tough with that, because when I go to a supermarket and I think, oh well, that's $5, that's $5, and that's $5, I'm paying $15. And when I go to the checkout, I'm paying $20.
Yeah, $27 somehow.
Something.
And depending on, so like the area that we're in right now is kind of interesting with that, because you have your state tax, you'll have your federal tax, but then like Charlottesville City, the city has its own sales tax. So you're paying like 4 levels of tax on a $5 item, that now that $5 item's $7 or $8, you know? Like,
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, at our place the taxes are included in the price.
Yeah.
We already paid extra.
yeah, so it's,
You see the price is with
It's
taxes.
yeah, exactly the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
so America lives itself off of a little bit of I don't want, tomfoolery is the wrong word. We lie about everything, right? Like all of our prices are $5.99. No one wants to say that it's $6, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows that $5.99 is probably $7. But I have to do some weird math when I'm trying to buy stuff like that. Why can't I just have the price?
Yeah. It's
I love
also
like little
something,
cultural things like that.
We
That's
have,
an
we
interesting.
have the same thing. Yeah, it is actually quite the same thing. It's just the sale marketing. It's just
Yeah.
what you sell, and the price doesn't look too expensive.
That's
But
interesting.
Again, on that, coming back to that whole point of, what I think about the US. I just think the US is very focused on service too.
Okay.
So there's this whole mentality I experience that they just want to make sure everyone feels comfortable and everyone feels admired and everyone is having a good time there.
Sure.
Especially when you're in a hospital. And honestly, my internship in hospital, I was at the UV hospital for the last 2 months, which was an insane experience. But we're just trying to make sure that because of this whole sue culture that's going on here, people can be sued because for the smallest reasons.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you always have a backup, so there's always someone following you and checking.
So has anybody told you the phrase CYA?
No.
So America operates off of a CYA policy in basically everything. So CYA stands for cover your ass.
Yeah.
So in a hospital setting or any kind of setting like that, you end up more concerned with making sure that you don't do anything to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
So your documentation, how you treat your patient, the conversation that you have, all of that is in a context of making sure that you don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Versus a context of what's actually good for the patient, right?
Yeah.
And it gets really blown out when you look at the fact that individual doctors can be rated on Yelp.
Yeah.
So now,
that's
like
a
for a
normal
doctor,
thing.
like for him to make money and to have like a private practice specifically, his patients have to be rating him high.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which means he can't look at someone and say, "You're eating yourself to death."
Yes, but that's the same for my wife. She's also a nurse. How do you call it?
Home nurse.
Yeah, she's a home nurse. She's come to the people at home. She
okay.
works independent for herself, but she gets rated also.
Really?
Yes.
But that is that for the whole country, or is it just for the company she works for?
No, she works for her own, but
For the where she's hired by.
yes, yes, the people who hired her.
Yeah.
For the other, how do you call it?
Just say the word. I can translate maybe.
No,
You can say the Dutch.
voor die andere mensen die dus ook bij hun gaan kijken voor een nurse.
Oh, so there's like maybe an overview on a website where Maureen is on, your wife, and then they can just see how she's graded by other patients.
Yes.
But that's like not
so like a review for the other.
for other people
Still
who might need to have
it's still
her.
a problem though.
Yes.
Yeah. So but that's a different occasion than what's going on in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, we are like, well, of course, patients go to a certain hospital because that's
Sure.
where they always went to. But it's not that we, it's not that we need like patients. And it sounds a bit, of course, we need patients, but it's not that we need them necessarily to come back because the hospitals in the Netherlands are very full.
Right, and the
So-
United States is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
The incentive structure for the hospitals is to get you to come back.
If I was going to get a $300,000 bill, I also wouldn't go to the hospital.
Yeah,
So
so it causes both things, right?
Yeah.
Like where you have people that just don't go because you
Yeah.
can't afford it, which is bad. But you also have an incentive structure. I don't think that the nurses and doctors necessarily are affected by it,
Yeah.
but the hospital administrators, they have an incentive to get you to come back.
Yeah.
When you take that and look at like big pharma and medical research,
Mhm.
do we actually have an incentive to cure
Yeah.
illnesses? Like, or do we want people to stay sick?
I
You
think
know?
it's all about, my experience is that it's just all about customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
So
I think
you
it is
don't
too.
want your patient to come back. I hope you don't want your patient to come back. But when your patient comes back, you want that patient to come to you.
I feel like that's where it breaks down, is rather than saying like you have to stop eating like that, you're
Yeah.
killing yourself with McDonald's. We just prescribe you
And then
metformin and let
Coming
you
back
keep
to
doing
the
it.
coming back to the point that you that everything is about that whole customer satisfaction. If you're going to tell your patient is fat and don't eat that stupid shit,
Yeah.
then your patient is not going to be happy.
Right,
You don't
and
have satisfaction.
Yeah.
So that's what I told you before this that we started filming, is that well, when you're in a hospital here, you go to the restaurant owned by the hospital and you have hamburgers, your fries, your fried chicken, and a pizza corner. So just imagine your patient just went for a very tough heart surgery, and the first thing he or she eats is like
McDonald's.
McDonald's
Yeah.
stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It's
But and you say the patient don't want to. The patient don't want to hear the truth.
No.
or not necessarily. Yeah,
I think Americans,
Yeah.
by and large,
Yeah.
don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
We like our, like, whatever our perception is,
Yeah.
we don't want our perception disrupted.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
that leads to a really dangerous, we look at global issues and
Yeah.
shove our fingers in our ears and
yes,
ignore
You
it.
don't want to bother anyone or something.
Yeah.
And-
While
or-
the average American is just trying to leave things alone and
Yeah.
not be bothered,
yeah.
the federal government is bothering everyone everywhere that we
Yeah.
go. You know, like
So, for example, an experience I have in the rehabilitation center I work in the Netherlands. It's a rehabilitation center for oncology patients and
Okay.
neurology patients, and there's a lot of people who have diabetes too in the Netherlands. But whenever I check someone's blood sugar and I see it's quite high, then I can tell my patient to not eat a certain thing before I give or insulin or
Yeah.
let him or her drink some water first, you know. And I feel like you can't really do that here.
yeah. I
As
mean,
in, if a person's still saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat that hamburger that I have right in front of me
Yeah.
now," so you just do something with my blood sugar. It's not
Yeah.
up to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a little bit of a difference.
the extreme version of it for me
Yeah.
was really highlighted working for the fire department.
Yeah.
Where you have, especially like lower income areas, you have heroin and opioid abuse problems just rampant right now. Like the United States is having
Yes.
a heroin crisis.
Yeah.
And what goes hand in hand with that is the amount of people that will overdose on a reoccurring basis.
Yeah.
So the fire department will show up and provide Narcan and bring people back to life repeatedly. Like to the point that you get to know the person's name, you get to know their friends' names. There is an argument out there in the world that fire departments and EMS agencies should only provide Narcan 3 times. So it's a 3 strikes you're out rule.
Yeah.
There's a part of that I kind of like, because I feel like America takes away personal responsibility for your own decisions completely.
Yeah.
And that is the most extreme version of it. But it's also, as you know, working in that medical provider field,
Yeah.
it becomes difficult. How do I come to your house and tell your mom, like, this is his 4th time
Sorry.
he dies today, you know? So, but
Yeah.
it's the heroin addiction and the opioid problems that you're seeing in the United States. One of the things that just never gets addressed is how much of a tax on that 911 emergency response systems,
It takes-
because we're just dealing with the same people all the time, and then we do nothing with it.
Yeah.
And you can see the same with like criminal justice stuff.
Yeah.
There's no reason that someone should be arrested 200 times.
Yeah.
You know, like at what point are you showing a pattern of lifestyle that you need rehabilitation in some way?
And
like,
what about the patients that come back to the hospital
over and over and over again? Yeah. But the incentive structure is broken, because if you have Betty that comes in 2 times a week to the ER for nothing being wrong with her, that hospital's making that $250 or whatever every time Betty comes in the door. Like they don't want Betty to go away. But well, I guess the last question I'll ask you guys is, what is the Ukraine-Russian kind of conflict? Like, what does that look like and feel like from where you guys are in the world? And I guess kind of what does your media look like? Because in the United States, it's a hot topic, but it's also really confusing to try to understand what's going on at all.
For us, it's the same. It feels like it's not so close. It's very close to us. But we don't feel it.
Really?
So for us, it's already long. We have to drive 30 minutes in the Netherlands, because again, if we drive for 1.5 hours, we can be probably in almost in 3 different countries.
Really? Well, so how far? I feel dumb now. How far are you guys from like an actual conflict zone?
Poland.
Ukraine, I think about 20 hours to ride.
Okay, so it's not like
you can
2,000 kilometers, 20,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
I think 2 days riding. Then you are there with the car, eh?
That's kind of wild though, because in the United States that would be like the middle of the country. Like
that's true.
20 hours worth of driving would be like Texas from here.
Could be.
So what is your media cycle kind of say? Are they a little more blatant? Because the United States, like our media, completely ignores the fact that this is a proxy war.
So it's a sensitive subject in the Netherlands too, the whole media thing. I think it's hard for me to say sometimes if something is true or something is not, or the way certain things are being brought over in the news, if that's then the right way to bring it over to the people.
Sure.
And what I've been having more struggles with just believing everything I read, because
what you say is it increased since COVID. Since COVID, nobody believes the government anymore so much like before.
So that's a thing in the Netherlands also,
but not as much as here.
Here is like borderline civil war.
That's what the media makes it feel like, also in the Netherlands. Because for the Netherlands, you got to understand, Europe is like, or the US is like the world economy that we follow or something. Everything depends on, the economy is going bad in the US, then it's gonna be bad in Europe too, and stuff like that. So we follow everything, like all the big news that happens here and all the school shootings that have been happening and stuff. We see that stuff too over there.
That's awful, because our media, like the landscape of our media is so much bullshit. That's the thing that's always interesting to me, is that's why I keep asking you guys, like, what do we look like from the outside? Because when I was like living in Germany for a while, I realized that the only view of America that you get from outside of it is the worst of us. Like you get to see, like Britney Spears having like mental breakdowns and shaving her head and trying to smash windows out of a car. That becomes like, that is an American woman, you know? And that couldn't be further from the truth, but also kind of the truth,
so, what I have issues with is that, so whenever something happens in Florida, it's the US. So whenever something happens in Virginia, it's the US.
Right. And we're the size of Europe almost,
Exactly. So whenever something happens in the Netherlands,
like we have some Asia, and like most of Europe would make the...
But like I said, I told my colleague that I'm going to the US, and he said, I wanted to go also, but I already paid for the trip, but then I heard it's dangerous, so I cancelled it.
As long as you're not going to Detroit.
I don't know.
So, do you want to hear an interesting statistic? And I'm gonna mess the numbers up maybe, but the U.S. is number 3 in the world for gun violence. So out of every country in the world, so like places in Africa where there's like child soldiers, we're number 3. If you take the 5 worst cities out of the equation, we're 498th or something like that. We're 2 from the bottom. So you remove a handful of Democrat-run and those are the 5 cities with the strictest gun control.
Yeah.
So you take those out of the equation, and we're almost the most peaceful country on planet Earth.
Yes.
That is an incredible statistic to me. Like, how is it possible to have both in the United States and yet never have the conversation around the fact that it's both? You know?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to stay in Charlottesville, I worked for the fire department there for 5 years. I think I was dispatched to 2 different like shooting calls, and both times it was someone shooting in the air, and it was like, it wasn't a, like, no one was even shot. You know, that's not going to be the same experience for Baltimore or Detroit or Los Angeles or you know, Austin, Texas, places like that. But by and large, like, the amount of guns that are in the United States keep us pretty peaceful, you know?
Yes, in Holland we got many stabbings from children.
Children start to shank each other, like 12, 13, 14 years old.
Yes,
And, that's the big issue we have right now.
Carry big knives.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think from, is it New Year's or somewhere in the coming short period of time coming, that you're not allowed to wear a knife anymore in Amsterdam.
Yes.
I think there's a law coming through now.
Some areas they can
They randomly check up or something.
check up you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
randomly.
That's now,
Yes.
but I think I read the other day that knives are going to be banned in the.
Is that a is there like a gang element to that? Like, are they like?
We have
gang
the macro mafia.
Yeah, but also the rap scene.
Yeah.
There's also a kind of rap scene.
So drill rapping.
Drill rapping, yes.
Really?
Do you know what drill rapping
Like
is?
dancing?
No.
Oh, okay.
Dance battles on the street.
Yeah, like they turn into knife fights.
But
It's
it looks you can
so
think
what
about
you
it,
what you have these different neighborhoods, for example, in Amsterdam, yeah, and then they start having like rap groups and stuff, and then just because of the hype, they start to like they don't like each other. So what happens then? Everyone wants to look tough and cool, and so they rap. And then when a person just comes into a wrong territory or different territory, then you just get shanked or something. And also on like the coolest festivals, like nice music festivals.
It's perfect. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you very much. On the coolest festivals and stuff, and then when just the check on you if you like carry drugs with you or a knife or whatever is not that good. Like, people just bring knives and stuff in to like fun events, and then whenever you bump into someone, it's the wrong person, or someone is like high on cocaine, whatever, you know, and then people should just start doing stupid shit, and that's like a big issue that we have now.
See, I feel like that is kind of one of the things. Like, Virginia is a good example.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have a lot of stabbings. Like, maybe, but I don't think so.
Longer distance shoot someone.
Yeah, you know, if you pull a knife out in public, there's a pretty good chance someone's pulling a gun out, you know, like, and most people don't want to get into a gunfight.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to get into a fist fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Not very familiar with the whole process of like what it takes to get a gun in the Netherlands, to be able to have a gun.
Okay.
I just know it's a very tough process, and even if you and you were saying something about like whenever you have a gun, you are never allowed to have it public, like on yourself, so people could see it or something.
That's how, like, Washington D.C. is.
Yeah.
Like, the capital of the United States.
Yeah.
For everything that the United States appears to be from the outside.
Yeah.
Our capital city, if you get a concealed carry permit, you can only carry that gun on your own property.
Yeah.
You can't, like, what is the point of a concealed carry permit if I can only carry it in my yard, right?
Yeah.
Like, that defeats the point. Like,
long distance shooting. But so what happens then is that at home you need a very good vault for it, to make sure no one can get to it except for the owner, you. If you would ever take it to a shooting range or something that we would have.
Yes, you have to put it in your trunk.
Yeah, in a suitcase, in a locked suitcase
Really?
and stuff. Yeah. And we heard yesterday, we were talking about it with a guy, and he said in the US you always need to have it visible for people so they know you have a gun.
Yeah.
Right?
It varies depending on like state and locality.
Okay, but
most states have what's called open carry.
Okay.
So as long as like a police officer can see that you have a gun, then you're good.
Yeah.
That to me is kind of interesting because it should be the opposite way. It would seem to me like what I don't want is people walking around with guns on their hips. I would rather, if you're going to carry a gun, put it under your shirt and not freak everybody out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I'm super against open carry.
Yeah.
just because some people don't like guns.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the grocery store and there's a mom with her kids,
Yeah.
me carrying a gun could just be stressing that mom out for no good reason, you know? I'm carrying a gun because I want to make a positive effect inside of a negative environment.
Yeah.
If the act of carrying the gun is creating a negative environment, then what's the point of, you know, I'm failing what I'm attempting to do. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, are you guys ready to do some shooting then?
Oh yeah.
We don't have to have like super weighty conversations. The whole idea is to just have fun. So
Yeah, of course.
cool. Well,
Great.
let's go blow some fruit up. So.
Let's go.